The Trump campaign keeps trying to tie Biden to, quote, rioters and looters, saying he sympathizes with them, while also hammering him on the crime bill. It makes no sense because it doesn't have to. It's all about drumming up racism, because pay attention to the last few seconds of this shockingly fear-mongering and racist ad.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop, and they should not.
The vast majority of the protest has been peaceful.
Over the weekend, 59 officers injured and 47 people arrested.
We need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
This has been declared a riot.
You won't be safe in Joe Biden's America.
The authoritarianism and fascism, the gleeful suppression of opposition to a tyrannical police force and government there is it's just striking. And notice how at the end of the ad, they show Joe Biden kneeling with Black Americans, and then it says, "Stop the rioters." That's not a coincidence. That's done on purpose. And it's incredibly ugly. And of course, the gratuitous showing of Representative Ilhan Omar, who she hasn't received enough racist and xenophobic and Islamophobic attacks from Trump's base. Let's just throw her in there so that she can get more hatred and ugliness and death threats and whatever else she gets. The willingness to hang her up like a piñata on the right and just let the entire racist side of this country bash at her, it makes me sick. So of course they do that. And by the way, what bothers me so much about this, one, Biden is literally a tough on crime Democrat. The Trump administration and the Trump campaign, I should say, is going after him on the crime bill, but then also saying that him and his cop running mate are sympathizing with rioters and looters, so it doesn't pass the smell test. And Biden has been painstaking in his attempts to decry rioting and looting. Last week, Democratic nominee Joe Biden's campaign released a new ad that condemns rioting and violence as President Trump's campaign continues to frame a Biden presidency as one that would lead to more turbulence and unrest. The Biden campaign ad, entitled "Be Not Afraid," focuses on a portion of Biden's speech from a steel mill in Pittsburgh, in which he spoke out against the violence involved in demonstrations around the country and blamed Trump for inciting it. "I want to make it absolutely clear, rioting is not protesting, looting is not protesting," the former vice president said in the ad's opening. "It's lawlessness, plain and simple, and those that do it should be prosecuted." Maybe by his prosecutor VP. But no, this is the guy who sympathizes with rioters and looters. I think in part of that speech, he was like, come on, man, do I look like a guy that's sympathetic to rioting and looting? No, he doesn't, and everything in his career has indicated that he doesn't. He's draconian on his tough on crime stances. It's in fact a criticism from the left. So the idea that he would cave to Antifa, which isn't even a real organization, but the Trump campaign has convinced its base that this is the narrative. Rioting and looting. Antifa! And it's incredible how much it sticks. It's backed up by significant propaganda arms on Fox News and PragerU and Ben Shapiro and whatever online. And then Biden feeds into it. But I also kind of sympathize with him here because he does have to respond to these constant attacks. But that's what happens when you have a shameless marketing arm that's disguised as a party. They just put out false messages and they don't care, and they understand that narratives stick. Here's a narrative for you, Trump. We're in an economic depression. 190,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, with over 6.3 million cases in the United States. That's a narrative because that's reality, and that's what you've done, and that's what you've created. So we don't need to play Magic the Gathering or fantasy about what would happen under Joe Biden, because we know that this is your reality. So the fear-mongering hopefully rings on some deaf ears here, or lands on deaf ears, because it's just like Michael Bay movie music and attempts to drum up fears. But the reality of what people are dealing with right now is pretty bad. So I hope that trumps no pun intended, the fear mongering.